What up, y'all? It's Progeny, and guess who's the birthday boy today? And what better way to celebrate my birthday than to buy a couple games on PlayStation or Steam and just kick back, relax on my day off, and enjoy the games that I've been anticipating and love. Well, Steam has something very important to tell us before I even make that purchase. Steam is now saying that the games that you are buying is really just a license. But first, let's get right into the article, and first, let's see what that looks like when you go on Steam. So when you go to your cart, at the bottom right, there would be a little message that says a purchase of a digital product grants a license for the product on Steam. For full terms and conditions, please see the Steam subscriber agreement. Steam is just telling you that, hey, listen, before you buy this game, we just need to remind you that you don't own the actual content. You do have a license. You are paying for a license that grants you access to this content, to this video game, but that doesn't mean you own the video game. What this means is that if, say, you were in your worst behavior, bad boy, bad gamer, and Steam decides to ban you, Steam reserves the right to revoke your license from all the games that you've bought when they ban your account. And you're not entitled or obligated to have any sort of compensation or refunds for all the games you lost access to. You can't argue like, whoa, you said you were going to ban my account. You didn't say you were going to take away my games. You can't, because when you made an account on Steam, you agreed to that. With that said, we really need to talk about ownership of your video games and this push for digital video games or even license. Just the idea of just not owning your games is crazy to a lot of people. And there are a few people out there that don't even know that this is a thing. I think as consumers, as gamers that spend a lot of money when it comes to video games, because video games are only getting increasingly expensive by the day, it's very important that we understand what goes on when we take our $60, $70, $80 and we give it to Sony or Xbox or Nintendo or Steam, and we have access to this game when we don't even own it. So to break further into detail as to why Steam is making this move to begin with, California has a law going to effect next year that requires digital storefronts like Valve's Steam platform to clearly say that you're only purchasing a license for your digital media, because some companies like Ubisoft and PlayStation were removing digital purchases from users' libraries, keeping them from playing games like The Crew or watching their old Discovery shows. The law does not apply to games where you can download an offline installer that can be used without connecting to the internet, like with Good Old Games DRM free game store. Sony had a back and forth with Discovery, and because of that back and forth, Sony was telling PlayStation users that they were going to revoke their license to gain access to their Discovery shows. The issue with that was PlayStation users were under the impression that they owned these Discovery shows that they bought. It wasn't like a subscription. It wasn't Discovery Plus. They actually bought individual episodes and or seasons for those shows, only for Sony to say, yeah, things didn't work out between me and Discovery, so we're going to have to take your license away and you won't have access to those Discovery shows. And people, rightfully so, were pissed about that. Now, Sony has reverted their decision from taking those licenses. It does say a lot about the current climate of the video game industry, making this push for digital content, or this push for gamers like us to subscribe more to subscriptions and buying digital games and opt out of physical media. And with that said, we need to understand that physical games matters so much. Now, I might trigger you a little bit with this article from Ubisoft. We probably remembered what a Ubisoft executive said when he said that gamers need to get comfortable not owning their games for subscriptions to take off. Basically, what the Ubisoft executive was saying, you have music and you have movies and TV shows. People are somehow pretty lenient when it comes to Netflix and Hulu and Disney Plus. People have no quarrels when it comes to movies. so to speak. But people do have a little bit of a pushback when you try to apply that same business model to video games. If gamers are going to want, gaming subscription services to take off the way Netflix and Disney and Hulu does, then you're going to have to get used to the idea that you're not going to be owning your games anymore. You're just going to have little licenses, and that can get revoked at any time for any reason. And that is the part that really sucks. I remember I used to work at GameStop, and there's been many times where I'll have customers, regulars, even coworkers alike that would tell me that, yeah, digital games is the wave, man. We don't need physical games. GameStop is gonna go out of business because it's all about digital nowadays. You can just stay at home, you spend your dollar, you get the game, you download it, and then you play it in the comfort of your home. You never have to walk outside. Like, people was pushing so hard for digital, they were very confident that physical media would be no more. We gloss over the reasons why physical media is very important and why we need physical media in the gaming industry. I'm gonna give you a few examples, and bear with me, this is gonna be a little bit of a sit down. There was The Office that was on Netflix. The Office was a TV show that I watched all the time. I watched it from beginning to end. Now, the issue with that was Netflix contract with The Office was expiring, and Peacock was about to be having like a new streaming service. So Peacock was about to take The Office away from Netflix. The issue is, I'm not going to pay for another streaming service just so I can watch The Office. So a lot of people were saying like, hey, you might as well just buy The Office, the complete series, physically, so you could just watch it at any time and you don't have to spend an extra $10, $15 just because another streaming service pulled The Office out of Netflix and put it in their own platform. And another example of this that falls in the same category of like TV shows and movies was the Boondocks. I thought I got the whole experience from A to Z. I know all the characters, all the episodes, all the references and everything. But it turns out I didn't. I didn't get the full experience or the full package of the Boondocks because there is one episode in the Boondocks that I did not watch. And it was the story of Jimmy Rebel. Basically, this episode was pulled from HBO Max because of its offensive nature. We all know that Boondocks is no stranger to jokes and satire, especially when it comes to racial topics. This was an episode that kind of took it way too far, and HBO felt that it was necessary to just pull that episode from their streaming platform. I can't say that I've watched every single episode. Now I have to go out of my way to find this episode, and I can just watch it, or I can just buy the physical copy of the Boondocks and get all the commentary, all the insiders, the deleted scenes, including this episode, and I don't have to worry about any entity modifying that content in any way, shape, or form because I own that content. It's in my home. It always bothers me when people are so adamantly about like, oh, it's all about the subscriptions, baby. It's all about the digital. That's saying you don't need physical CDs anymore. No, you do need physical CDs because it's like preserving history. You also have some sense of ownership, some sense of privacy. You don't have to worry about some company or entity going into your game or to your book or to your movie or TV show and manipulating it in some way, shape, or form. I may be rambling a little bit, but this is one example that I really need to get off my chest, and it does fall to the whole physical versus digital debate here. It's actually the whole PlayStation 5 Pro situation where the PlayStation 5 Pro is being released as a digital console. You can play physical games on it, but the only issue is if you want to play CDs on your PlayStation 5 Pro, you need to spend $80 to get a hard disk drive that you can attach as an add-on to your PlayStation 5 Pro so you now can play physical games. My issue with this is that you're putting physical media behind a paywall. And this is the issue that I have. Now, mind you, I have a PlayStation 5, the disc version, the regular one. I wouldn't upgrade to the PlayStation 5 Pro because the moment I buy the Pro, I restrict access from all the CDs that I bought from my PlayStation 5. And now Sony is putting that access behind a paywall saying, you need to pay me $80 if you want to play those CDs that you currently own. Which again makes no sense. Feel free to chime in, if you will. But I personally feel that Sony is doing this is because Sony makes money when people buy from their digital storefront. Sure, Sony makes money from someone buying, say, Persona 5 Royal for the PlayStation 4 or 5 or whatever, but the issue with the physical content here is this costs maybe $60, $70. That's all it costs. I own this now. I can give this to a friend for $60. And Sony will not see that money again. Sony will only get $60 out of this, and that's it. But when it comes to the digital storefront, it's just a license. Say Sony gets rid of physical media. Let's say we live in a dystopian society, and Sony gets rid of physical media. If I want my friend or friends to play Persona 5 and enjoy this amazing game, they are also going to have to pay $60, $70, $80, and that means Sony is winning at the end of the day. It's a sense of ownership, y'all. Playing this, you, my friend, playing this is as simple as me handing you the disc. That's it. It's so simple. But you don't do that when it comes to digital games. Like, I genuinely feel that we need physical media in the gaming industry because there's so much history that you can preserve if you hold a copy of a game. Whereas you have these companies nowadays, like for example Nintendo and Microsoft and PlayStation, that are currently closing down certain digital stores like the Wii store, the Wii U store. Then Microsoft shut down the Xbox 360 marketplace just over the summer. Hundreds upon hundreds, maybe even thousands of games will cease to exist because these companies are shutting down these digital storefronts. But the only way you can preserve those games, arguably for life, is if you have the physical copy. Sony could shut down all of their stores today, and I can rest assured that I can enjoy Persona 5 Royal anytime I want, so long as I have a system that has a disk drive. That is it. And with that said, that's all I have for y'all. Hopefully, this provides some insight on the whole digital versus physical situation thing going on, and the whole idea of just owning like a license to the game rather than just owning the game itself is crazy. Just keep that in mind, y'all. This is more of like a food for thought than anything else. And just be more aware and mindful of the money that you spend, especially in digital storefronts. That's all I really have for y'all. Peace.